and welcome to another video. And my second time streaming on Twitch, interestingly, as well, for the people watching on Twitch. And for the people watching on YouTube after this goes up on Twitch. Hello. And today I actually have something really interesting. I found my notebook with my old training notes. From my junior year of high school, I think it was. And I figured I could go over them with you all, and comment on my old training methods, as well as, generally speaking, just how my training has evolved over the years. Okay. Now, let's get this started. Okay. October 26th, 2022. Age 17. Current height 5'6". Definitely glad that was not consistent. Current weight 190 pounds. I listed here I had an injury in my left elbow that I wasn't certain of at the time. In hindsight, I actually did get checked out by a doctor. It turned out I pulled a tendon in my elbow during class that got made worse the next day at school when I had to when the class requirement was to try maxing out on bench press. It was conditioning class. It would be weird if that was in any other class, but okay. My training listed for the day: back squat, 3 sets of 10 at 185 pounds. Neck crunches with 10 pounds for 3 sets of 10. Neck resistance machine for 3 sets of 15 with the weight not mentioned. Lower back extension, body weight for 3 sets of 15. And I have it listed: leg machines, overcoming isometric, 3 sets of 7 seconds on 3 machines. Crunches, 3 sets of 50. Then speed bag, 3 sets of 1 minute. Round 1 is standard block and punch. Round 2, linking and reverse punch. Round 3, punching and elbows. Then double end bag, 5 rounds of 3 minutes. Round 1, jab and slip. Round 2 through 4, punches and elbows, and punches slash elbows, and slipping slash blocking. Round 5, barehanded. Then 3 sets of 1 minute on the slip bag. Now, let's look at this objectively and explain a few things before moving on. First off, back squat at 185 pounds. It's pretty standard. Then I immediately go into my neck training. That's because I was really big into neck training back then. I still do it fairly often, just not nearly as much as I used to. I did actually get a pretty strong neck from it, but I have listed neck resistance machine. I'm not sure if it would be classified as a Nautilus machine or if it was a different brand, but it was a resistance machine where you sit on it and then the weight is on the back of your head like this with the pads, and it pushes your head forward, so you have to use the strength of the back of your neck to push back. And let me tell you, I loved that machine. I'm upset my gym doesn't have one now, the commercial gym I go to. Following that lower back extensions, 3 sets of 15. I'm not sure what exactly the piece of equipment I was using for it was. It's kind of like a Roman chair, except it allowed me to get fully upside down with it and go fully like this when I was doing the extension. So it was like this. And I really liked it, mostly because it's actually a lot more stable than the one at my current gym. But also, the way that you put your legs on it allowed you to just, it to hold you in place on its own. So it took a lot less pressure off the hamstrings versus the ones that I currently use, where you're basically doing a stiff-legged deadlift every time you do it, which is annoying because you're really trying to isolate your lower back with that exercise. And as such, I have to do it on upper body day. Yep, yeah, because if I do it in the same day that I do my leg curls, my hamstrings just can't take the extra work. All right. And I was doing it with body weight at the time, mostly just because I remember it felt awkward trying to do that exercise while holding dumbbells. All right, next, I was, like I mentioned, as stated, leg machines, 3 machines. Now, if I remember correctly, the high school had leg extension machine, leg curl machine, and leg presses. I think those are what I was talking about. But they were kind of weird. With the leg extension and the leg curls, you could only do one leg at a time on those. And of course, wasn't one of the ones that had the plates that you can use the pin to change the weight. You actually had to put plates on, which was a little weird. And the leg press machine, I actually did quite like the design of it. But a bit hard to describe, really. And going forward beyond that, I was big into overcoming isometrics at the time, mostly because I read about them in oh wait, no, I didn't read about those yet in the Art of Expressing the Human Body by Bruce Lee. Well, technically it was written with his training notes, but he didn't write the book itself. It was published and written after his death. But I had watched videos by the Pioneer where he was talking about overcoming isometrics. He made it sound like the absolute best form of training possible, so I figured I would do that with my leg training. And, well, didn't really see any improvements as far as I remember. All right. And then crunches. 3 sets of 50 3 sets of 50, not 50 seconds. Yeah, 3 sets of 50. Yeah. Okay, then we got the martial arts stuff. Speed bag, double end bag, slip bag. I love the speed bag. I try to work it whenever I get the chance to. But as I mentioned earlier in this, I had an injury in my left elbow at the time. So I was doing it one-handed on all of these things, which is most likely the reason why I lowered my usual time of 5 rounds of 3 minutes to 3 rounds of 1 minute. Now, with this, it says standard block and punch. I'm not entirely sure what I meant by that. Not sure how you practice blocking with the speed bag. Then on round 2, linking reverse punch. I think it's talking about doing this kind of thing. Yeah, with the speed bag, which I've been doing for years. And then punching with an elbows, hitting the speed bag with an elbow isn't that hard, especially if you're doing it off the same arm you just punched with. Then the double end bag. I never got all that good with the double end bag, to be honest. But 5 3-minute rounds. First jab and slip, then punching in elbows while practicing slipping and blocking. To be honest, I don't know exactly what I was trying to do there. Sounds like I was kind of just doing a freestyle thing. And then doing the 5th round barehanded. Most likely I was wearing boxing gloves for the first 4 rounds, and then went barehanded since that's my primary thing that I do. Yeah, I do. Or at least I wear smaller gloves. But as a karateka, bare knuckle is my primary thing. And then 3 rounds of the slip bag. Nothing wrong there. My head movements always needed work. Okay, now base review of this here. I got 3 separate leg exercises. 1 exercise for the lower back, 1 for the abs, and 2 for the neck. There's no pulling or pushing exercise, no rotational exercise, Nothing for the shoulders. Nothing for the hips. Or glutes, for that matter, because I don't really count squats as a glute exercise. In terms of strength, I mean, if this was like a 1 day, one day in a week-long routine, that would be perfectly fine. But I don't know what I was thinking. Okay. Okay, the next day. October 27th, 2022. Height and weight stayed the same, and the injury in my left arm was persisting. Training, speed bag, 3 rounds of 1 minute. Round 1 was block and punch. Round 2 was linking reverse punch. And round 3 was punching and elbow. Same as last time. Double end bag. Same as last time, except round 5 this time was open-handed techniques rather than bare knuckle. But I realistically would have to take off the boxing gloves regardless to do bare-handed. Then, techniques. Foot sweeps, 3 sets of 2 minutes. Reverse punch, 100, probably on both sides. Then front snap kicks, 200. With that one, I'm thinking it's 100 on both sides. And then footwork, 3 rounds of 1 minute. Squats for body weight, 3 sets of 50. Crunches, 3 sets of 50. Leg raises, 3 sets of 20. Back bridge, 3 sets of 50. What do I mean by back bridge? Usually that would be how I would refer to a gymnastics bridge, but giving that as a set of numbers is weird without giving other context. I think I meant glute bridge. Okay, then splits training, dynamic stretching, and then grip trainer, 40 kilograms for 1 set of 100. All right, now let's break this down. Speed bag and double end bag stay the same, but techniques, foot sweeps for 3 rounds of 2 minutes. I think this was before I started training judo and learned the shadow grappling form for foot sweeps. So if I'm thinking correctly, I was practicing these against a tree. It's a bit unusual that I use time for this, though, because usually with repping out techniques, I go for a number. Okay, reverse punch, 100. Like I mentioned, I probably meant that on both sides. Front snap kicks, 200, probably on both sides. And I'm thinking it was most likely off the back leg. Wait, or Yeah, actually, I have no real reference for what I was doing. It could be back leg, could be front leg. And then footwork, 3 sets of 1 minute. Usually I just practice the bouncing and the entering and disengaging movements, for time, occasionally circling. Now, with the actual strength work here, we got a primary leg movement with the squats. Then we got crunches for the abs, leg raises also for the abs, and glute bridges, which should primarily target the glutes, as the name implies, but do have some benefit for the lower back as well. Splits training. My version of splits training is just getting into the position for the splits as deep as you can go and then holding it for time. And dynamic stretching, most likely just some side and front leg swings. No specified technique, no specified time or rep count. Then use of the grip trainer. Now, it says 40 kilograms for 1 second. It's weird that I wrote this in with the metric system and not freedom units. It appears high school me was a communist. Just kidding. Even I knew back then that was a bad thing. Okay. Technical work, perfectly fine. Yeah, not a fan of practicing the reverse punch, but not a punch off the lead hand. Doesn't have to be a jab, but even just a straight punch. Yeah, off the lead hand would be fine. So strength work is okay, but not preferred. Yeah, preferred to the normal stuff. Yeah, technique work, perfectly fine. My note taking is pretty bad, though. Okay. October 28th, 2022. Same details. Oh, except now I listed my height as 5'9". So either I grew 3 inches overnight or I realized that I was listing my height wrong in the previous sections and didn't change it. Weight, 190 pounds. Current injuries, same issue with the left elbow. Now, beginning, back squat at 185 pounds for 3 sets of 10. Neck crunches, 10 pounds, 3 sets of 10. Neck machine, 3 sets of 15 with no listed weight. Interesting, a new exercise here. Headstand, 3 sets of 2 minutes. Then lower back extensions, 3 sets of 15. No weight given. And overcoming isometrics on the 3 leg machines. Then speed bag, same listed thing as previously, and the same with the double end bag. Slip bag is 3 rounds, 1 minute. Foot sweeps, 3 sets of 2 minutes. And then grip trainer. 1 set of 100 with 40 kilograms, and then 2 sets of 10 with 60 kilograms. Okay, now let's look at the differences here from the previous ones. First off, squat. I didn't list back squat, but I can assume that's the same because I didn't list a different variant. Second, the rep count stays the same, but also so does the weight, which is concerning, which means either I hit a plateau there, or more likely past me didn't understand the concept of progressive overload, which is a concern. With every single training process for anything, you need to be consistently increasing either the volume or the intensity. Now, neck crunches stayed the same, in that regard, but with the neck machine specifically, I didn't list the weight again. So I have no idea, why. No idea if I'm improving here, stagnating, or just have no idea what I'm doing. And then the lower back extensions, 3 sets of 15. No weight was lifted, but I'm going to assume nothing changed, which means I'm still in the same spot. Then the overcoming isometrics on the machines, again, same thing as what I mentioned earlier. Everything remains the same here, except for the grip trainer. That's an interesting change here. I did the same thing with the heavy volume on the lighter grip trainer, but then I added in some heavier training with the other grip trainer. It means I got a mix of volume and intensity there. See if it plays off the same way. November 3rd, 2022. Okay, that was a little bit of a leap there. Maybe I took about a week off training or so. Okay, height, weight, and injury stayed the same. Squats, body weight, 3 sets of 50. Crunches, 3 sets of 50. Leg raises, 3 sets of 20. Lower back extension, 3 sets of 15. Okay. Speed bags, 3 sets of 2 minutes. I didn't specify what I did, though. Double end bags, 5 sets of 3 minutes. Higher hops, 5 sets of 1 minute. That's an exercise that I learned from to help with my footwork from a boxing coach in my town. Footwork training, 3 sets of 1 minute. Figure 8 kick drill, 3 sets of 2 minutes. 3-level roundhouse drill, 3 sets of 2 minutes. And karate style kicking, 100 reps of each kick. Let's go over this. As mentioned, that particular bodyweight stuff is basically what I do at home. Would have done at home, I mean. The squats and crunches, leg raises, they're fine, but the last one, lower back extension, at home, this would have been called a Superman. Not preferred, but better than nothing. Even though nowadays I would deviate more to a reverse plank, for training my lower back. Okay, speed bag, 3 sets of 2 minutes, which means which means two things. One, I increased the volume from the last point, but also that I most likely was not doing different techniques in between the rounds, so didn't feel the need to mention it. Double end bag, 5 sets of 3 minutes, probably the same thing. Tire hops. What those are is basically I take a small tire, put it on the floor, and then I place one foot so that it's resting on the edge of the tire while I'm standing on the ball of my foot with the other. And then I alternate the positions. And I do it again, and again, and again, and again, and again for the length of time. Okay, footwork training, like I mentioned, just practicing the bouncing and the entering, the disengaging, and all that. Figure 8 kick drill. Basically, I prop myself up against a wall, hold on to something so I can balance, hold one leg out at full extension, and then just practice making a figure 8 with my foot to practice leg control. Then 3-level roundhouse kick drill. You guys actually have seen this in one of my previous videos. In the episode of Road to the Black Belt, where recently, where I had showed you guys a session of my kick training. And then karate style kicks, 100 of each kick. Now this was actually before I learned a good number of the kicks, so it probably would have just been front kick, roundhouse kick, side kick, back kick, crescent kick. Okay, no, I didn't know the hook kick yet, or the question mark kick. I've never been good at spinning kicks. Maybe the crescent kick and the outside crescent kick and the outside roundhouse kick. Those are maybes. But it was 100 of each one, but that might be 100 on both sides. Or it could just be on my left leg, since that was my kicking leg. Okay. Okay. November 4th, Friday. Okay, actually listed the date this time. Age 17. Back squat, 185, 3 sets of 10. Neck crunches with 3 sets of 10 with 15 pounds, so I went up on that. Neck machine, 3 sets of 15. Headstand, 3 sets of 1 minute. Lower back extension, 3 sets of 15. Crunches, 3 sets of 50. And leg raise, 3 sets of 20. And at this point, I also have an analysis. Punching. Can't punch with left arm. Currently focus on straight punches for now. Improve technique. Kicking. Left leg, good. Right leg, not so much. Improve mobility of left hip to fix it. Head movement. Massive improvements as of late. Footwork. Needs more endurance and speed. Do more drills. Overall things to improve. Endurance. Do more endurance training. Parentheses. Due to injuries, running would be likely. And parentheses. Need more speed and power. Improve iron body conditioning. Let's look at this. Now, based on this, it appears that I did have access to the school's weight room for this, but I didn't have time to do much. And it seems the primary things that I felt the need to do was the back squat, my neck crunches using the neck machine, my headstand, and the lower back extensions. And I most likely did the crunches and leg raises at home. Now, Now, this is not how I would really structure my training nowadays, especially since this is on a Friday, meaning the end of the week. Generally speaking, if it was a matter of having one major compound lift as the focus of every training session, this could be okay. But, okay. So back squat, then 3 neck exercises, then 1 exercise for the lower back, then 2 ab exercises. And that's all I did for the entire day. I mean, if it was for if it was for, say, a major exercise, like a deadlift, maybe a clean and press, I could see that being the primary exercise. But yeah, back squats as the only compound exercise for the routine. I mean, at least it wasn't bench press. I can say that. At least it wasn't bench press. And then, of course, 2 ab exercises. Yeah, at the end. Oh, and notice I was doing crunches only because I was firmly in the belief that sit-ups are garbage. And I stand by the way most people do sit-ups. They're garbage. But fortunately, I found a workaround. If you do the sit-ups with your legs completely straight and keep your back completely straight during the sit-ups, you can take all the pressure off your hips and have it focused entirely on your abs, thus making them useful. Now, moving on, I like that I gave an analysis at the end and gave notes on what I needed to work on. However, my note-taking ability was abysmal at this time. So, moving on. November 6th, Sunday. So it appears I must have taken Saturday off. Speed bag, 3 sets of 2 minutes. Double end bag, 6 sets of 3 minutes. Half boxing, half MMA, whatever that means. Then I have some miscellaneous stuff here. Jabs, 200, probably with my right arm since my left was injured at the time. Footwork drills. Tire hops, 5 sets of 1 minute, and 3 sets of 1 minute for that footwork drill I mentioned. And then 3 rounds of 1 minute each on the slip bag. It appears I was not doing a particularly heavy day this time. Maybe I had other stuff that I had to do that day. But either way, I got some work in. Speed bag and the double end bag were the primary ones. It's weird, though. It appears I was never doing any real work on the heavy bag. I mean, I've deviated away from the heavy bag a little bit these days just because the stand is a little wobbly and makes it a little hard to do work without risk of breaking stuff. But it appears I was a little hesitant to work on the heavy bag back then, too. Okay. Okay, there's a bit of a big time skip here. September 24th, 2023, age 18. This was a pretty big gap between the last one. Maybe I forgot about or lost the notebook and found it again and decided to get back into it. But okay, height 5'9", weight 184 pounds, injuries none. Okay, first, training on a tree. First, hikite to shudo. I tied a belt around the tree to use as an arm. You've seen it, man. If you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, you've probably seen it in a couple of previous videos, namely my training montages. And then teppo for 200. That's a sumo technique. It's the standard palm thrust. Then 200 foot sweeps against the tree. That's probably most likely 100 on both sides. And then training with sand and gravel. First, 400 nukite. That's obviously 200 on both hands. Nowadays I can't really feel it if I'm doing a spear-handed gravel, but back then I definitely did. Then two finger strikes. It's this one right here, which I picked this technique up from Kenyon Ashura, Mokichi Robinson. 200, that's 100 on both sides, and extensors. That one was in a bucket of sand. It's this right here. Great for the wrist, but primarily for the forearms right here. And it's also good for preventative injury prevention to the elbows as well. And then finally, Hindu squats, 4 sets of 35. Now looking at this, it's clear I was focusing more on technical work than anything else. And of course, Hindu squats are one of my favorite types of squats, period. Yeah, great for your knees. Okay, 926. September 26, 2023, age 18. First, KOT walking lunge, 2 sets of 40. Now, KOT, that's knees over toes. For me, my knees always go over my toes when I'm talking about lunges. So, okay, what I think I did here, I meant to put ATG walking lunge, not KOT. Yeah. And of course, 2 sets of 40 walking lunges. That's 20 on both sides. Then it says here, class of the dojo, 1 hour, 30 minutes, meaning I'm most likely, that's pretty much what all classes were for me last. Yeah, in those days, they've gone up to 2 hours lately, and that also means it was either a Tuesday or a Thursday, since that's when I have my classes. Then decline push-ups, 2 sets of 30. The decline calf raises, 2 sets of 30. Tibialis raises, 3 sets of 50 with body weight. Oh, and the decline calf raises were with 40 pounds. And then shrugs, 3 sets of 35 with 15-pound dumbbells. Okay, looking at this one. A fair improvement from the previous body weight stuff. Yeah, the ATG walking lunges is a pretty good improvement. And decline push-ups, just good to have a pushing movement at this point, or anything for the upper body. Then exercise for the calves and tibialis. Those are always good, especially the tibialis. I don't think it'll come up in the notebook, but there eventually came a point in time where I stopped doing shin conditioning just because my tibialis got strong enough to where it was able to take the damage instead of my shin. The shin bone, I mean. And then shrugs. Shrugs are good. You got to be working your traps. Okay, September 28th, 2023, age 18. Step-ups, 2 sets of 35 on each leg. Lateral leg raises, 2 sets of 35 each legs. Shrugs, 2 sets of 35 with 15-pound dumbbells. Face pulls, 2 sets of 15 with a green band. Dumbbell curls, 2 sets of 20, 15 pounds. Wrist curls, 2 sets of 20 with 15 pounds. Forearm extensors, 3 sets of 30 with sand. Crunches, 3 sets of 50. Side bends, 2 sets of 20 with 30 pounds. Reverse plank, 90 seconds. I went to class for 90 minutes. And then on the Makiwara, I did 200 normal punches, 100 reverse punches, 21 knuckle punches, and 20 middle knuckle punches. Okay, now let's look at this. Step-ups as a new primary leg exercise. They're very similar to squats, actually. But, they're basically just the raising portion of the squats. Lateral leg raises, primary exercise for the hip flexors. Nothing wrong there. Shrugs to work the traps. Face pulls to work the external rotation. Wrist curls for the forearms. Forearm extensors for the for the back of the forearms. Crunches for the abdominals. Side bends for the obliques. Reverse plank for the back. Primary concern here is that there's nothing, for the pushing, which is weird considering how much push-ups I was doing back then that I didn't do anything. Didn't do anything here. Unless, okay, got it. This was before my senior year. Senior year was when I got really into the push-ups. Okay, and so the strength work is okay, but I feel there should be at least a push-up in there. And class most likely had me doing push-ups in there, just during the calisthenics before class started. And then for the Makiwara, I was doing a fair bit more work for the normal punch than I think necessary. Usually I say 100 punches on both hands, double on your non-dominant side, but this had me doing about 300. So, and then 20 Ippon Kenzuki, the one knuckle fist, and 20 with the Nakadaka Kenzuki, the middle knuckle. And I think I cut off at 20 because it hurt too much to keep going. Now, of course, realistically speaking, instead of doing 300 of the normal punches, I should have also done the knife hand, the ridge hand, the back fist, hammer fist, palm, all that. But it appears that I did not. September 30th, 2023, age 18. Renzuki, 100. 100 double punches and 100 on 1 foot. Now, the double punches are primarily a speed drill, but the standing on 1 foot thing with throwing Renzuki is primarily a balance drill. Used to help you manage to get stable footing even in awkward positioning. Then reverse punches, 100, front kicks, 200, 3-point kicks, that's the 3-level roundhouse kick drill that I talked about earlier. And then I practice kata, 20 sets of Han Yodan and Godan. Then blocks, 15 to 20 minutes practice with primarily with it, and it's listed here. I did karate and Wing Chun style blocks, which is weird because Wing Chun doesn't teach blocking. Then Makiwara, 200 punches, speed bag, 3 sets of 2 minutes, and on the freestanding bag, I did 100 side kicks. Then wrist curls and reverse wrist curls. 3 sets of 20 with both, but for the normal ones, I did 20 pounds, and for the reverse wrist curls, 15. Now, let's look at this. Now, doing multiple drills for Renzuki, I like. The reverse punches are good. Front kick is good. The 3-point roundhouse kick is good. For this one, though, I didn't do time. I just did it for 100 reps. Then kata practice, that's always important. I think I actually had a belt test coming up at this point. I think it was for blue, but I could be wrong. Then blocks. I don't like that I didn't give it numbers or what blocks I was practicing, especially because saying that I used karate and Wing Chun style blocks means nothing. Especially because I'm not actually sure what blocks I knew, what Wing Chun techniques I knew at the time. I mean, probably Pak Sao, but maybe Lap Sao, Tan Sao. Heck, honestly, at this point, I'm pretty sure I thought Chi Sao was a hand fighting pattern. Where you defend like this, and not a sensitivity drill like it actually is. Then Makiwara, I streamlined it down to 200 punches, speed bag and freestanding bag. That's good work, especially because the side kick is good to do on rigid objects. Mostly to prolong the health of your knees. Then wrist curls and reverse wrist curls. Good for the wrist and elbows. Okay, moving on. Okay, October 5th, 2023. I went to class for an hour and a half. Then, holding dumbbells at arm's length, 3 sets of 30 seconds with 10 pounds. Decline calf raises, 3 sets of 30, 40 pounds. And 2 sets of 50 with body weight. Decline tibialis raises, 3 sets of 50 with body weight. resistance band, ankle exercises, 2 sets of 50 each, and horse stance for 5 minutes. Looking at this, holding dumbbells at arm's length, I think it means in front of me, like this classic punching with weights thing, but just holding it out there, out there like that. I'm pretty sure this was mostly just because I realized my arms were getting really tired in class, and I wanted to try to fix that, so I started practicing that. It could work, but yeah. Okay. The calf raises. I noticed this, but yeah, I started with weight. Yeah, weight, moderate weight. But it's actually no, it's for calves, lightweight, and then moved on to body weight. Yeah, that's a good way of getting an extra volume while maintaining intensity at the start. And then tibialis raises, that stayed the same. Then resistance band ankle exercises. That's predominantly the exercise where you go like this with your ankle while using the resistance band to add resistance when you pull away from it. If I remember correctly, the reason I started doing those is because at one point I sprained my ankle and started doing that as a physical therapy thing, and then just kept doing it because I figured it would make it be much more resilient to spraining my ankle in the future, and it worked. And then finally, horse stance for 5 minutes. I predominantly use the Chinese horse stance just because it's so much better at targeting different things, with the tendons being the primary concern. Okay. October 7th, 2023. Decline push-ups, 3 sets of 15. Calf raises, 2 sets of 100. Tibialis raises, 2 sets of 50. That's it. Yeah, needless to say, this is not a good day's training, but at the very least, I guess I did something. Okay. October 8th, 2023. Makiwara, 200 punches. Push-ups, 3 sets of 5. And I put down here, my right tricep hurt. Okay. That's actually concerning if one of my muscles hurts enough to stop doing an exercise entirely. Okay. Kettlebell swings, 200. Then one arm swings, 50 each arm. Now, kettlebell swings are great. Yeah, they pretty much work all the same benefits as deadlifts, but they're in a ballistic manner. So, getting a kettlebell and incorporating it into my training is net positive. But it was a pretty short work in that. But I got some technique work in, and I did 2 major movements: a pushing movement, a hip hinge movement that works most of the body. So not what I would call a loss. Okay, October 9th, 2023. Went to the gym. I worked, it says here, all leg machines, 3 sets of 15 to 20. Curls, 3 sets of 10 to 15 with 20 pounds. Dips, 3 sets of 5. Bodyweight rows, 3 sets of 5. Shrugs, 3 sets of 20 with 25 pounds. Holding dumbbells at arm's length, 3 sets of 30 seconds, 10 pounds. Exercise bike, 3 miles. Stairmaster, 30 floors. Spear hand into sand, 100. Spear hand, 100 into sand, 100 in gravel. My handwriting is just pretty bad. Fingertip training, 100 on a brick, which means kind of just smacking the tips of my fingers into it. Then iron palm bag with gravel in it, 100 on the palm, and middle knuckle strikes, 30, and leopard punch, 30. Then decline calf raises, 2 sets of 50 with 40 pounds. Calf raises, 2 sets of 100, body weight. tibialis raise, 2 sets of 50. Wrist curls, 2 sets of 30. At 15 pounds. Reverse wrist curls, 2 sets of 15 at 10 pounds. And finger extensions in sand, 3 sets of 35. And finally, crunches, 3 sets of 35. Okay, now let's go over this. I'm going to assume this is the gym that I go to. For simplicity. All leg machines. There's a leg extension machine. There's a leg curl machine. There's a hip thruster machine, which isn't a leg machine, but I probably thought it at the time. There's leg press machines, but I know I wasn't doing leg presses at the time. And there's hack squat machines, which I probably included. Now, I don't include the weights that I was working on. I don't include, what machines it was, so that's confusing too. And of course, I know for a fact I'm better at leg extensions than I am leg curls. Yeah. Okay, then I immediately go into curls, 3 sets of 10 to 15 with 20 pounds. Now, I know I probably could have done more volume with 20 pounds, or I should have been using a heavier weight. Now, dips, 3 sets of 5. I most likely was doing full dips at the time, but this was before I got good at dips. My current record is 17, but it appears here I was doing sets with 5. Okay, bodyweight rows. At the time, it was my preferred rowing movement. But I was only doing 3 sets of 5 for some reason. Then shrugs, 3 sets of 20 with 25 pounds. I know for a fact that I could have done more, gone heavier weight with 25 pounds at the time. I haven't even done shrugs in years, and I know that's a fact. Okay, then holding the dumbbells out at arm's length, same thing as what I said before, but I don't like that I'm still using 10 pounds for it at this point. If I'm using the same weight, then I should be going for more time or more weight. Then exercise bike for 3 miles. Honestly, I would prefer it if I also put down the time that I was doing it for. So I'm able to determine in the future whether or not I was going at high speeds or if I was going steady state. Anyway, Stairmaster, 30 floors. Now, again, I would have liked the time to be included. But unfortunately. Yeah. Okay, then I did my spear hand training for the day. I was and still am a spear hand specialist. That's this strike right here in karate. So it makes sense that I would have dedicated training to that specifically. And then my training for the calves, tibialis, and forearms stay the same as previously. And then finally, October 10th, 2023. Nothing. I put the date in and didn't do any training that day. Or I did my training and I just didn't write it down. Honestly, kind of disappointed in myself for this one. Just when my training was starting to get good. So, this begs the question, should I start keeping my training notes again? Would you guys like to see that? Because I'm already documenting my karate training. But should I be more precise about it and writing my notes and give you guys regular updates on it rather than just show you some of my training every once in a while? Would you guys like that? Just in case. There we go. I've written down for today. So come on. What do you guys say? You guys want to see me continue doing it? Let me know. Until then, thank you all very much for watching. This is Randoman, signing off.